Hi, I'm Rick Rheins, Senior Rabbi at Temple Sinai in Denver, Colorado. This week we conclude the book of Numbers with reading two Torah portions, Matot and Masse. Masse, which I'm going to focus on, begins chapter 33 of the book of Numbers and goes through 36. And it talks about the Masse Yisrael, the various travels, the journeys of the children of Israel. And as you read through it, at first you go, oh, this is not so edifying because it lists some 42 different stations, the trips from Ramses all the way to Jordan over a 40-year period, 42 different stations. And you think, okay, what's the significance of it? And the Torah doesn't take the time to go into the detail of the significance of many of the places. And in fact, it's the only time we read about some of these places, which is in this Torah portion, which is interesting in of itself. Now, lest you think that that is overwhelming, that they'd have in 40 years, 42 different stations, Rashi says it was even less than that because he said, besides that first couple of years where we were constantly on the move, and that last little bit of that last year where we were maneuvering in order to get close to the area right on the other side of the Jordan River overlooking Jericho, that there were only some 20 stations and 38 years. So he said, it's not like we were always moving. They had, 3 or 4 years at some of these places or longer even. So the significance still is for us to look at and to think, what does it mean to us for our ancestors to have listed the names of all these places? Again, many of which are beyond our understanding because we don't really have any more details about it. And many of the commentators said, take the time to think about the places where you've been along your own journey. And what is the Torah telling us? That you should pause and consider the significance of each of the places. And in the Midrash specifically, it says, consider the miracles that happen in each of the places. Now, there are some stops along our journey from junior high to high school and the first move with the parents, or they're off to college and then their first job, and then when you got married, or what, all these different stops along the way on your journey. There were miracles. There were things that happened that defined our lives, that helped fill our lives with meaning and significance. And the more a person reflects on them, I think the more you appreciate and have gratitude for the purpose and what we've learned through those various experiences. Now, of course, you can walk blindly through life like so many did, but it was Moses who paused at that bush that was burning and was not consumed. And he paused and said, Maza, what's happening here? What's the significance of this stop, of this part of my journey? And he could have just walked on by and given it no mind concern whatsoever. But the Torah is saying, pause for a moment. Think about where we've been. Think about your journey. And it's not just I had to overcome this challenge here, and I had that difficult experience over there. Okay, there's the tsuris. But there's also the simcha. There's also the joy. There's also the things that filled us with a sense of goodness. And as we go through our journeys, you start to realize that, wait a minute, it's not this life of always going from one victory to the next. That's not the case. Or from one defeat to the next. That's also not the case. At each journey we learned. Some people will say that you actually learn more from defeat than you do from victory. Nevertheless, we learn from all experiences, but we have to pause and consider them. And so this long list that the Torah has at the concluding chapters of the book of Numbers gives us an inspiration. Take the time to consider the journeys that we've been on and then find strength for them, and indeed find courage for them to say, my life has meaning and purpose and significance. Indeed, it does. And so what happens as we conclude the book of Numbers? We'll raise that Torah, that Sefer Torah, and say, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek. Be strong, be of good courage. Know that there's goodness in every step that you take throughout your life. We have to pause and consider it. There's lessons and there are significant things that we can take to hold at all of the stops along our journey. May each of us appreciate the goodness that we bring to this world and that this world brings to us. We thank God for all of these experiences. Shabbat Shalom.